Bring out your pots. Bring out your pots. Rusty, broken, worn. Bring out your pots. Joe was the shyest boy in the class. On Sunday, he'd go to Sunday school to learn the gospel and his letters. All the other boys would put up their hands, but Joe never did, even if he was certain of the answer. His throat would tighten and his jaw would clench. He was so shy, he didn't even like speaking in front of people that he didn't know. His dad, on the other hand, was different. He was bold and confident. He would stride the streets of Northampton and his voice would boom out, calling, "Bring out your pots, bring out your pots, rusty, broken, worn, bring out your pots." He was a tinker. He took his barrow through the streets of Northampton, fixing people's pots and pans. One day, they were walking down the narrow wooden streets near St. Mary's. The houses stretched up high. They were made of wood. A woman called out to Joe's dad. "I've got some pots for you over here," she said. Well, while his dad discussed business, Joe sat on the barrow. His eyes began to sting and there was a tickle in his throat. As he looked down the street, he saw, far off down, fingers of flames reaching round the walls and over the roofs. He grabbed his dad's sleeve and tugged at it. They abandoned the barrow and ran hand in hand for their lives, making their way up Gold Street. Soon, people were running around, screaming, leaving their houses and streaming up the road. The road became crowded, and soon it was a great rushing, gushing river of people. Joe's hands became slippery with sweat, and his fingers slipped from his father's grip. Joe could hear his dad calling, but he couldn't reach him. The crowd surged away from his dad, and he was carried away. He kept moving up the road, up, drifting away from his dad. The crowd surged into the open space of Market Square, and Joe was carried along with it. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Wide open space. But it was short-lived, as they realised the flames had followed them up the road, and they began to lick around the wooden buildings of Market Square. There were wooden buildings on all four sides, and they were trapped. The crowd surged towards the only building that was not made of wood, Welsh House. The crowd hammered on the door, bang, 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 until it came off its hinges. They surged through the building and out the other side. There was an orchard at the back, and people came out. Joe searched frantically amongst the blackened faces and the bloodshot eyes, but he couldn't see his dad anywhere. He was short. So he decided to climb a tree. As he scrambled up the tree, he sat, watching as person after person came out of the house coughing and spluttering. And then a familiar face, lined with worry and soot. It was his dad. Joe's heart thumped in his chest. He had to get his dad's attention. He took a deep breath. "Dad!" he shouted as loud as he could. His voice floated down to his dad, who looked up and smiled. He pushed his way through the crowd while Joe scrambled down the branches. Hand in hand, they walked home, far from the flames. They rebuilt the barrow, and together they strode the streets, Joe and his dad, calling out for business. "Bring out your pots, bring out your pots, rusty, broken, worn, bring out your pots."